this anthem tracks. Boy, I ain't playing.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Grown Man Shit. You know, where we talk about what grown men should talk about. Today, I'm going to be introducing a very special person to me. He has accomplished many great things in his life and is about to accomplish some even more things. He is a father. He's a businessman. Just an all-around good guy. I'd like to introduce you to my little brother, Cheikh Davis. Man, welcome to the show.
Thank you, big bro. I appreciate the offer to come on and talk about whatever we got to get out to let the people know how to at least pursue grown man shit.
Okay, no problem. So I'm gonna let you introduce yourself better.
Like big bro said, my name is Cheikh Davis. First and foremost, I'm a father, a husband, a son, and an entrepreneur. I really believe in the ability of bootstrap. Like if you have a dream, pursuing it by any means and finding and building the team to do that with, and doing that with family first, friends, and people that want to see you build a vision that cultivates something more than just your inner circle, but adds value to the rest of the world.
Dope. So the reason why I call this grown man shit is just so you can be as explicit as you want to be. Be who you are organically. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean I'm going to ask you some crazy-ass questions. I just wanted to let you know the reason why we call this grown man shit.
Okay.
So tell us about some of your hardships that you had coming up as far as what I know about you is that you've always been a young man of tenacity. You've always found strength when people thought you were weak. How were you able to do that? How were you able to mold yourself even when people didn't believe in you? What's giving you that power?
That's a big question. I think it's the people that at a young age that I look up to. I can specifically remember at a young age, like 5, Malcolm X, the movie Malcolm X by Spike Lee was a motivating factor. Knowing more about Malcolm's story and what he went through definitely shaped a lot of things as I got older. Learning about people like Muhammad Ali, that shaped it. I mean, a lot of it was shaped by my father, who I viewed and always seen as a strong black man, and the way that he pushed us, the way that Pop kind of approached things it wasn't about understanding what you're doing good right now. It was about understanding your weaknesses and how you could improve them. Like, remember when we used to have to run the hill?
Yes.
Every day.
Yes.
And that hill, man, I was dying on that hill, but it was always about how do you get stronger? How can you improve? How can you push yourself? I guess the mentality kind of just, I don't know what's innate and what was necessarily inspired. But, growing up in that time period and watching football in the 90s, watching people like Michael Jordan, all of it was a overcoming tragedy and triumph story. Mm-hmm. And you wanted to be a part of, at least when I was watching it as a kid, it was about wanting to have that kind of glory. Like, how can you pursue that? As an adult now with a family, I think about what can I build for my family? Like, what can I leave for my daughters? Cuz said something, man, that registered to me today in church, and he was talking about his future wife, my cousin Sean, and he was saying, my glory's in her. I want to shine through her. And I was reading the word, and it was saying, your wife is your glory.
Yeah.
And so, wanting to do as much as I can and more than I can, kind of in that spiritual sense, living in the overflow for the people that you love and cherish, and you really want them to have the best life possible. Like, not just on what they taught us in school as far as education, get a good job, get a 401k, work till you die type stuff. I mean, I feel like we can do more than that because other people have done more than that. The goal should be to surpass those that have come before us. So my outlook has always been at those people from the past, how they inspire me in my present, and what my present's supposed to help me build for the future. And I think that that's just kind of always the way I looked at it, even when we were playing video games.
Yeah.
I remember it used to build like those juggernaut
Oh
teams,
my
bro.
goodness. Yeah.
And I used to love that because I was like, if I could take this damn near D2 school and build them up to a program that could beat all these 6'4", 4'2" running athletes. Like, I always loved that strategy. It's kind of like a psychological thing.
Yeah.
That strategy of how can you overcome the odds. Because if you could overcome the odds, the story was just better.
Yeah.
So, and I'm definitely, don't know how, don't know why, but I'm definitely a story guy.
Well, for people that don't know, you also do films, which is something we're going to discuss. Which
Right.
I understand how you can be a story guy from that because
Right.
it's all about telling the story.
Absolutely. For sure.
So, man, let's go back to when you was a young kid. Let's share some funny stories that you have that may have gotten you some butt whippings, man. Anything that you wanna talk about? Cause you know which one I'm gonna bring up.
Yeah. Man, the biggest
Bomb
butt whipping-
Squad.
Yeah. But listen. I don't even know. I think once again, that underdog story. It had to be like this dude on the bus, and he had to be like an 8th grader or something, and he was picking on us. We were either 6th graders or, I think 6th grade, because I think it was Mercer Middle School, and it was right around that time with Columbine and everything else. But the biggest butt whooping I ever took was calling in a bomb threat under like a false name on a payphone by a 7-Eleven store on this dude that was trying to pick on us, and we called it in on him. and while that was stupid, that wasn't like the dumbest thing. The dumbest thing was like we make the call on the payphone, wait a little bit, go back home, come back down. I don't even know why we came back down to the payphone. But then when we saw the cops coming towards that payphone, we run into the store and they like automatically knew it was us. And it was just, it was a bad situation because Pop was a vice principal at the time. And the first thing they do is they call him to let him know that they're expelling me. And I never seen a butt whooping like that ever before. I literally, because I ain't gonna get Pop in trouble with CPS right now. But like I still have scars to this day because when I was getting whooped and I was trying to like get away, I couldn't even like run at a certain point, and my foot like slid across the floor trying to make the escape. And the rug burn was so deep that it still whipped me.
Still got you.
It's like I just Michael Jackson moonwalked the wrong way across the floor. I was hurt. I was down for a couple days.
You was kind of good with it, but I was the king of ass whippings, bro.
Yeah, yes you were.
I think I got more ass whippings than people incarcerated, bro.
I thought you got used to him or something. I was like, maybe
bro, I was used to him,
he's got a stronger ability to endure.
Oh man, after all them ass whippings I took, yeah, bro, I should have been a boxer.
Did you ever do anything? Because I used to like try to trick Pop. I was like, okay. How many am I getting? He'd tell me how many hits I was gonna get.
I knew I was fucked.
Oh, I used to load up. I used to pad it. I used to put on like 3 pair of underwear and try to make them flat so he couldn't tell.
Oh, no.
Because, like, we got whooped a special way. It wasn't like, you just got the belt and it was...
Oh, no.
Nah, it was like, I ain't going to get him into trouble, but it was bad.
Yeah. It was different.
It was a mental mindset. You had to prepare for the hit.
Oh, my goodness.
And you knew it was coming. He told you it was going to come. And I was like...
You knew it was coming.
Listen, everything just seems real mental right now.
Yeah. Flashbacks.
Hey, look, you got to be mentally strong.
Oh yeah. I remember when you took that ass whooping for everybody because we must have broke a toy nobody wanted to admit, and he was like, "Well, I did it. We just watched you get that, bro. I'm on national TV. I'm sorry. I'm fucking sorry.
It's cool.
That shit was not cool.
Sometimes you gotta be a martyr, man. Do it for the people, so the people will do it for you.
And I remember exactly what you said after that. I'm not taking no more ass whippings for y'all.
Nah. No love, no respect, man.
How you guys gonna watch me get my ass beat and not say anything? It was odd. Oh,
it's mental.
Oh, man.
For sure.
Oh, man. I mean, just to have the mindset and be in the type of person you are, persevering through so many different situations, man. To be honest, I was jealous. I was jealous of you, man, because there were some things that I couldn't deal with within me. But as a man now, bruh, you're special. You're special because you found a way to endure and found a way from even when those times seemed dark and they weren't that dark, you could always see the light at it. I remember when you was this little chubby kid and you wanted to play running back, and they had you on the line, and I think you were at Rainier Playfield, and I think you told the coach to go fuck himself, and then you left, and then you said I'm playing for Rainier Beach, and you went and you played for Rainier Beach, and you became that running back. And not only did you do that in Little League, but you stayed there and you ended up going to school there, becoming a running back for a couple of years, and then you transferred and went to Renton. But you were always finding things to, you were always finding things to accomplish. When things seemed rough, you would find, I don't know how you would find a nest patch to go sit in, think, incubate, and come up with a strategy. I remember when you wanted to go to the UW, and you found a way to go through that. And I believe, did you get a scholarship? Or please tell us that story.
Oh man, UW. Listen, I think UW is the first time I ever heard the word endeavor. When they send you your college letter, when you apply, and I only applied to UW. I didn't apply to Oregon or anything else. I only applied to UW, and they sent me 2 rejection letters, and at the end of the rejection letter it says, "Best of luck with your future endeavors." And oh man, it pissed me off. It just hit the core of my stomach. What the best of luck with my future endeavors? Oh man. I was like, nah, okay. Denzel, okay. That's what you motherfuckers want to do. That's how we gonna play. I think because I wanted it so bad, and that's where I saw myself being, and that was the closest thing to home, and I've always been like a family guy, so it wasn't like I wanted to go far away.
Yeah.
Since that became the spot, it was okay. The people that are sending this letter don't know me, obviously, so what can I do to put myself in a position to go to the school? Because it's right down the street. What can I leverage? For whatever reasons, and once again, don't know what's innate or why my brain thinks a certain way. It was more so like I've always thought in leverage and opportunities.
Okay.
Even going back to football, right? Because and I'm gonna bring this back around to the UW story. Because I wasn't necessarily the fastest guy, I had to, especially coming in at Rainier Beach, we had the homies from the hood. These cats was fast, they could juke, they could do everything. It's like the Reggie Bushes in your neighborhood. What I had was I had a lot of determination, and I could will my way through things, but I could also, my goal became to outsmart and outthink a lot of things. So it was more so about, okay, if I'm not the fastest, how do I use their speed against them kind of vibe? How can I leverage what I have to get what I want? So in football, especially in high school, Like a lot of that became, I was fast enough to break away, but if like there was a homie that was fast enough to try to like run me down, I had to use his speed against him and leverage my opportunity. So like whether that was a spin move, whether that was learning how to cut better, you had to take what you had naturally and develop on that so that you could get to whatever the end result was. So in the UW story, the end result being that I wanted to somehow get into the school. Wasn't even looking for a scholarship, was just looking to gain access to go to the school. And it became about who could I leverage and everything else. And sometimes the true definition of luck just really comes in handy, like where preparation meets opportunity. I started going up to the school. I started going up to the admissions program. I wanted to know who my dad knew that was up there. I wanted to know who the athletic director at the school knew that was up there. I didn't think that any of the coaches knew anybody, so I didn't necessarily leverage them, but I was just up there searching for people, trying to meet people. And what ended up happening was Pop knew somebody, the athletic director from Rainier Beach knew some people, and as I was talking to them, somebody had dropped out of a program called the Bridge Program. And the Bridge Program was basically, what do I want to call it? It was a program that allowed people from like low-income schools, low-income areas to attend the school for a month and pass these courses to see if they could make it at the college level. And so because I was going up there and getting familiar with everybody and kind of building these relationships, it just so happens that one person out of that program had dropped out or been disqualified, whatever it was, and they filled me into that spot. And that was all I really needed to get the opportunity to go to the school and try to continue to pursue playing football at that time. But it was a leverage and opportunities game. And I don't know, at a young age, I just learned the hard way that you were going to get more no's than yeses. And that's just how it seems like that's the way life goes in the beginning until you're adding something of greater value to people. And then they're coming to you for leverage and opportunity plays. But definitely in the grind stage, it's all about, I know I'm going to get more closed doors in my face. So just kind of stomaching that mentally. I don't know. I think a lot of it was who I wanted to do it for, because it wasn't just me. It was more so like I wanted to make people proud, and I wanted to prove stuff to myself. So having that determination to see it through by any means necessary, I think became like the biggest driving force for me. Just how do we get it done? Sucks, but how do we get it done?
No, I mean, I believe that's always the question. And me coming into myself, that's what I've had to understand about me and ask myself that question is, how am I going to get this done? What does it look like for me? And getting it done, what does the end goal look like as well? I think you've been able to differentiate your end goal to figure out if this is what you wanted to do. Like when you were trying out for the for the Huskies. I believe you could have made the team, but I believe you made your own decision and saying, no, I think I have more value in creating something for myself than just being a part of a system. What made you go that route?
And that was two things. I think first off, and if I'm being just like 100% honest with you, like I was lazy. Like for real, you don't understand when they put you in a college program, because I remember coming right after we finished that bridge program, I had to roll right into walking on to the University of Washington. And I wasn't even there long, but the system was, you wake up at 6 a.m. You're in weight training, and after weight training, you're in film study. After film study, you're eating. After you eat, you do a little bit more work as far as school or tutoring goes. and then you might be in pads again, and then you're kind of getting ready to do the same thing all over again. And knowing as a walk-on, you're going to have to work your way all the way up the system. And I think coming in at that time, completely different look on me. I was like 5'10", 215. And I don't think that I was in the shape that I needed to be, nor had I ever really been. Like I didn't get cardio well conditioned until much, much, much later in life. So I wasn't used to running and lifting and everything like that without getting gassed. I mean, to the point where I was getting lapped by linemen at practice, and these dudes were huge. I was like, man, how are they? And because we had to run around the whole football field, the four corners of it, and I mean, they just had stamina. And I had a serious stamina issue, and it's just like, when you're not physically prepared for something, your mental goes to shit real fast. I promise you. So I'm looking at this and I was like, bro, I gotta do this shit every day. And I remember at the time, like my boy, my best friend Reese, man, he was really big on acting, and he had done programs in high school and everything. And my thing was always, as I look back, and I think I always understood then, was I wanted to put myself in this situation, and I don't know why. Maybe it's the vanity, maybe it's purpose calling. I don't know what it is, but you wanted to put yourself in that hero boat. Like, what does it take to become what my role models and idols were to me? What does it take to become a Malcolm? What does it take to become a Muhammad Ali? We were watching guys back then like Cheikh Davis and those guys. Like, what does it take to become something like them? And for me, athletes in our time was the heroes. You were either, as a African American male, the people that you looked up to were either celebrities or they were athletes. And I mean, it may even still very much so be that way today. But those were like the leaders in our communities. So like if they said something, people listened. And I think I wanted to just be in that position that when I spoke, I could move mountains, if you will. So that was my reason for wanting to do it. And when I wasn't physically prepared to do it, it just kind of altered how I looked at the game and the way that I approached it. And, sad to say, I think like that was probably one of the first, maybe only true times in my life that I took on that quitter's mindset and kind of let the game that I love get away from me just because I didn't have the mental fortitude at that time to try to make it. Even though like I went back and tried to get back on the team, and it just didn't work out for me. Looking back, I could have pushed myself harder, pushed myself more. I needed to have a better mental outlook on it. And in a lot of those situations, like what you're talking about, it's just, at least from a feeling standpoint, you feel like you're alone in it. Because, it's not like there's a homie beside you that's doing the same grind as you. And it's not like Pop could relate to what I was going through. Anybody can say something inspirational, but then the person that's going through it is like, nah.
You ain't going through what I'm going through right now.
You don't know what it's like to wake up at 6 a.m., smack weights, go run, eat. Like, your time is not your own. And I noticed, like, at a very young age in college, I definitely wanted my time to be my own. But in that circumstance, it becomes, okay, what are you going to do? Because they already have a system. They have a program.
Yes.
So they know how they're going to develop you. If you're going to go off course, you're going to have to try to create your own program. And, man, that's where shit gets really, 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 really hard. When you are trying to develop something that you see inside your head and you're trying to make it a reality and nobody around you knows how to build that.
No. That comes from your own creativity and what it is that you see, your own vision. And yet you've been able to put that together. So And it seems like after the football debacle, you were like, okay, I'm gonna find something else to get into. And so you got into film. Would you say that about 20K? And you and your friend Daryl, well, together, you guys did about 20K, and you guys put together a film. I mean, what was it like writing it, starring in it, finding the people to film it? I mean, you guys did all the legwork. You guys, like, shoot. I mean, just saying it. And you guys are what, maybe 20, 21?
At that time when we actually started filming it, we started the journey probably at like 22. By the time we ended up filming it, we were 25. Because when we started it, we were trying to get it financed, right? And the goal became to leverage a book that one of our coaches had about his story about manipulation and corruption in high school football, and try to get that story taken to Hollywood, and then from there cast ourselves into the movie, even though we never had any Hollywood credits.
Gotcha.
So we was just it was big dreaming. So like the first thing was using the University of Washington to go to the drama department and learn how to write a script, taking acting classes, doing all those things. But I mean, once again, at a really early age, I don't know, something's wrong with me. It's like, I do not like systems. I just rebel. It's like,
You just a rebel, just a rebel.
I was saying, well, why I gotta be in somebody else's movie? I want to be in my movie. Like, I want to make the movie. I want to call. It wasn't even about the shots. It was more so like I want to be in projects that I want to do versus trying to audition just to be in somebody else's project. And maybe it was about being more than an actor. But once again, it comes back to that wanting to have a voice, right? I think sports allowed, in high school especially, allowed you to have a voice. You know, you walk around. If you say something, people knew that I said something. People respected that I said something. And making a movie, your story is trying to say something. So I think for me, almost unconsciously, it was always about wanting to have something to say and wanting to provide value and wanting to do it with things that I was passionate about. And of course, at that time, it was definitely football. But the process was crazy because, once again, leverage and opportunity. We were using everything that we got. We ended up getting the script all the way to the Seahawks. The Seahawks went and talked to their vice president of finance. Their vice president of finance just happened to know this big-time film producer named Joe Roth that had just bought the Seattle Sounders.
Oh, boy.
And this is like Hollywood, right? He's like, and we were at a luncheon because my big bro Mark Monroe had tapped us in with Mike Flood, who was over community relations, and once again, leveraging everybody you got to get what you want and adding value. You couldn't everybody liked the story. Everybody wanted to see it succeed. Everybody was looking at the grind, what we were trying to do. We had the book. We had the intellectual property. It wasn't like, oh, man, I just want to be an actor. I just want to do something. It's like, no, I want to be an actor. This is the specific movie. I remember going to Odegaard, and I wouldn't even be doing homework from school. I was learning how to write a script. And when we first started writing a script, we wrote it in a fucking Word document.
You got to start somewhere, man.
Because we didn't know. I didn't know nothing about action sequence.
No.
I didn't know nothing about dialogue breakdowns. I knew nothing about how to break down a scene so that it hits a climactic ending that rolls you into the next scene.
Yeah.
Didn't know anything about transitions. It was just, all right, here's where we at in the book. This is what we got to get on the paper. Obviously, we can't take all these words in the book, so we got to build this out. So it was really just about that learning curve and building it, trying to build it professionally. But what we ended up doing was taking this kind of student script, if you will, and getting it in the hands of this super Hollywood producer. And he was super nice about it. I think I never talked to him personally, but his assistant reached out to us personally.
Got you.
And she let us know that because it was a story on manipulation and corruption in high school football, the question that for him and all movie producers are different is what's so different about this story than the stories that we get on HBO Beyond the Glory or whatnot, right? So like, it just wasn't what he was looking for, and I think we were like 22 at that time, and man, I was super excited because we were like right on the door
Right on the cusp.
of Hollywood, man. And then he ended up turning it down. And when you get turned down at that kind of level, you just say to yourself, okay, I got to do this shit myself.
Yeah.
And to do it ourselves, of course, we had to get jobs. And it's, this is after school, this is after graduation. But it just became, okay, what does the grind look like to get it done? And we didn't know how to make a film, but when you don't know how, you study. So we started studying, we started connecting with people that had made movies, and then we had to build the whole crew out. We had to cast all the actors ourselves. We had to find the post-production team, and all of these things aren't being done the way they're supposed to be done. Like, all of that's supposed to be done in pre-production. We learned it all the hard way. But once again, I think it just went back to trying to build a vision so that you could move towards the ultimate goal of, at that time, was getting a film done, finding a way to get into the door of Hollywood, and seeing what pursuing that lifestyle and career would be like on our terms. And we ended up making this short film. I mean, we moved a lot of roadblocks to get there. Like the UW let us use their facilities to film. We ended up renting out Stadium High School, which was used in 10 Things I Hate About You. So we had this whole, we had the look and everything going for us.
I mean, you guys even had some actors.
We didn't have any Hollywood actors, but we definitely had like local, great local talent that really, really came through for us. And man, it was so long ago. Just even thinking back, we were definitely grinding it out. But yeah, it was just about how to get it done. And when it's that big and you have that much going on, I would say the one thing I hated about that process was like that jack of all trades vibe. And I was talking to Cousin Sean about this, like, from my experience and feeling alone in some of these endeavors, like you have to be the jack of all trades because you got to be a screenwriter, you got to be a director, then you want to act in it, then you're producing it and finding all the crew and everything. Like, that shit is exhausting.
No.
Versus,
I understand.
if you could just have a solid team around you, which a lot of times comes with the finances, right? Looking back, it would have been nice to have just put myself, if I just knew exactly what I wanted out of it, and then centered a team around it. And that's kind of what I've learned as I've gotten older. The better you can build your team out, the more sustainable your success can be. Because it's not sustainable when you're doing everything. You literally just spread yourself way too thin. But, when you're 25 and that hungry, it's just all about pure ambition. So, I mean, we got it done. My goal was to push it through the finish line at a film festival. But I think at some point I got burned out because it wasn't the greatest, but it wasn't the worst. And we submitted it to Seattle International Film Festival, and we didn't get in. But it wasn't like I kept submitting it and kept submitting it and kept submitting it and kept submitting it until we got into something. I think a lot of times I'm dropping the ball when we're right at the 1 yard line. and I don't know if that's because I get burnt out with things because you feel like you're carrying it for so long, or if it's just not having a full-fledged understanding of what it's going to take from here to get to where you want to go. So I think knowing the whole vision before you begin is a really, really crucial step to success. And being around people that either have the fire and passion for that, so that you guys all see it all the way through, or just being with somebody that is experienced. They know exactly how to get you through the finish line. Pick one of those two. Either everybody's hella hungry around you and we're all going to figure it out, but we know the ultimate goal. Like, we know where the end goal is and where we transition to the next thing, because you're never going to stop, right? Like, if you climb a mountain, if you're going to be successful, you should be looking for the next mountain to climb. But you can't stop climbing the mountain, because if you stop climbing the mountain, that's a long-ass fall. So,
Yeah, or a long ass way down. So you might as well go to the top.
for sure. So I think just knowing what your end goal looks like for that particular project would have been really key for me at that age. And once again, it wasn't like we had people that had done this before, and that's no excuse, because there's plenty of people that accomplished it that they didn't have anybody around them that necessarily knew what it was. They just kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, and you break down doors. You're not knocking anymore. You're just fucking sledgehammering it, kicking in, and saying like, "What's up? I'm in this bitch."
I mean, I remember especially that first movie. When it was done, it just seemed like you took on this approach. Well, it's not the way that I want it done. And to me, as a person that had watched it, participated in it, and was a part of the process along with these other people, I thought it was selfish and foolish. And the reason why I say that is because you had all this help from these people that wanted just to see you develop and grow. 9 times out of 10, what I've learned is you're not gonna like the stuff that it is that you put out personally, because you always feel like you can do better. I mean, even some of the stuff that I've put out on this podcast, it's just like, it has to go out. I don't care it can't be off me, because this content is not made for me. I believe your first movie was dynamic. I believe that if you would have pushed, you would be in a different place now. I believe you would have a serious budget and you would be running your own film industry. But that didn't happen. You have a gift of achieving certain things, but then there's just one flaw with it, one chip in it. You have an Achilles heel, from what I've seen, and it is, as you stated, right when you're on the 1 yard line, you're like, forget it, I'm not scoring this touchdown. And you still have opportunity, I believe, because you have how many films underneath your belt?
I would say 3 short, maybe 1 feature, depending on what we could drag out of what we did.
I mean, honestly, even I believe you should just put your product out there, bro. And I'm saying this on the podcast for the whole world to hear, because I believe you've put in the work, you've put in the time. People need to see what that looks like. They need to understand that even though it may not be your best there, somebody's gonna see that and be like, you know what? I'm gonna give him an opportunity. I'm gonna fund that next project for him because I see what he can do. It was funny because you got into rapping for a quick second as well. So I remember when you and Reese hopped in the studio, and God rest his soul, Shay Black produced some of your guys' tracks. I think you guys had a 8-track album or whatever at that time, and you just were good. If you would have just stuck with it, I believe, you would have reached the apex of where it is that you wanted to reach. And that brings me to the next thing that you're in now, which is clothing. And I believe the ideas that you have come up with are freaking amazing. And I would like for you to tell us more about it. But what I would like to state to you is, everything that you have accomplished so far that you have not put out with this clothing brand, people need to see who Cheikh Davis is. This is why the reason why I asked you on the show.
Mm-hmm.
They need to see who you are holistically, what it is that you've been through, what it is that you've accomplished, and what it is that you're going to accomplish. Because I believe there's a lot more films in you. I believe there's a lot more of whatever it is that your heart desires. And I believe your daughters need to see that. They need to see that, I know it. And I know they're babies right now. But they need to know that their daddy's a champion. Because you are. You've rode the wave. And yeah, mate, sometimes you got knocked off that board. And you just didn't. You're like, you got out the water. But I think it's time for the stuff that you haven't put out. It is time to put out because it would just make you so much more appealing to that crowd that you're going to tell us about with this clothing line.
Mm-hmm.
So please, tell us about your clothing line and what you're getting ready to do with it.
Well, what inspired the clothing line, first and foremost, was the ability to do story without this ridiculous overhead.
Okay, I get that.
And because, with clothing, depending on whichever route that you go, there's several ways to do it. And from a business standpoint, having the product ready became easier and we had already learned from years and years and years of experience how to produce content. So in all the content we were building before, whether it be, let's just stick with the filming side, the story is the product, right? So you got to get the story all the way done. Whereas with clothing, you could make the clothes and then you just had to put a story to the clothes. So it started off with, okay, let's reverse engineer what we've been doing and have our product, and then the skill set that we have a passion for, let's let that just be the driving force behind the marketing. And that's where it started. And what it became and what it has become is something completely inspiring to even myself, just to see what we're trying to do, which is how I would define the clothing brand is called Culture X. Culture without the E, so CLUTURX. An Impact Apparel brand, which nobody says that. What is Impact Apparel? But yeah, I was like, what the hell is athleisure? People created lanes. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna create once again.
Yes.
Going against the grain.
Yes.
Like I'm gonna just create my own. I'm gonna create our own system. So Impact Apparel brand that brings legacy to fashion. And I was thinking when we did it, I was like, bro, Nike is killing the game off of the stories that they tell. Not only do they tell it about every body has a body, and if you have a body, you're an athlete, but it's the greatness that goes into what you want to do with that body or how far you push that body to achieve the goal. It doesn't matter if you're the chubby kid that wants to lose weight for a healthier lifestyle, or if you're a Michael Jordan caliber athlete that has to constantly push yourself to the edge to understand what it's going to take to beat the world's best for the championship, or the LeBrons, or the Russell Wilsons, and whoever else they have signed. But they have all these phenomenal stories that go behind their brand. Whether it's the ordinary person, everyday person, or it's the super mega caliber athlete. They have that. All those stories are baked into their brand. And when I started to think about what kind of stories that we wanted to tell, I was like, man, nobody's ever really dug deep into the past and told the story from an apparel standpoint, or using fashion as an avenue to re-educate people on their history. Nobody's told these stories of the past about like what Black excellence looks like to us. Nobody really knows about the Fannie Lou Hammers. We get glimpses of the Harriet Tubmans, but we don't know truly about the Fred Hamptons. We don't know truly about the Medgar Evers. We don't know what Malcolm X experienced with having his father killed before he was even 10, and seeing the foster care system, or just kind of how the system at that time drove his mother to an insane asylum, all for him to transform himself into what he became, for what became a Black Power movement after his assassination. We're not getting the depths of that story. And I was like, bro, those stories, we can't run out of those. Like this goes so far back.
It's American history.
Man, it's deep, because we really don't. When I looked at it from a business standpoint, I was like, bam, this is phenomenal stories, right? Like, you can't beat this.
Yeah.
But as I started getting deeper in it, as I am digging deeper into this, and I'm learning about people I've never heard of a day in my life, or I'm working with Pop, and he's never heard of these people. We're talking about Black people that had banks in 1901 that were giving out loans. We're talking about people that were called Black aristocrats that were funding the abolitionist movement for Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad. Yeah. Like, you gave us Harriet Tubman is almost as if she went out there with like a gun, a jacket, and she was just like, we're going to round them all up. And they're going to light torches to get their way home or something like that. And like, nah. There was a sophisticated system behind all of that. And it's almost like when we think of the past, we don't even think that we had aristocrats. And when I say the past, I'm talking like 1800s, maybe even as far back as 1700s. You almost feel like the Black American experience was just slavery. And then now what we're going through right now is just trying to break even from all this oppression, where there were people that were crushing it in impossible times.
Yes.
And as I'm digging deeper into these stories, understanding that, man, I wrote an article when I was trying to start a nonprofit called Art of Legacy, and I wrote an article called Legacy Innovation Plan. It was a way that we, as a people, as African American people, needed to be able to look at where we've come from and approach things from a mindset, a perspective, and an opportunity standpoint. And when I wrote this article, thinking about it like almost how Elon Musk approached his master plan for how he was going to build Tesla. That's how I wrote the paper. I was just like, first we start here. We start with mindset. And from mindset, we go to perspective. And from perspective, we create opportunities. And it was all built around the first step in it was creating this clothing brand to ignite mindset. There's a reason why the people in our past, when, let's say, there were no books being written, there are orators, right?
Yes.
People told the stories of your past, and those stories were passed down. There's a reason for those things. That pride that comes with that shapes your mindset on what you can do in your present for your future. So I wanted, when I wrote this article, I was like, okay, the clothing line has to ignite the mindset. And then perspective, I wanted from what people were learning from the clothes. And the clothes are just like it's an avenue, but it's become something so much more from the people that I'm associated with now. They're looking at things and they're like, bro, I don't think you understand what you got here, because one of the key features in our clothing is we put a QR code on in the outside of our logo. So we want people to be able to walk up on anybody that recognizes the brand and scan it, right? But when you scan it, one of the key questions that I got after we started developing the first phases of it, and forgive me for bouncing around.
No, you're fine.
Was, okay, but if I buy Culture X, how do I learn more about my culture? And I was like, man, you know what? At first I was like, I'm supposed to inspire you. Like, Nike don't tell you how to be a better athlete, but y'all cool with buying Nike. Well, I got to tell you about your culture. But when I thought about it, I was like, you know what? If anybody wearing our brand could go up and scan the back of somebody, and when you think about e-commerce, you want an A to B system. You want people to drop onto your website, and you want to get them to the checkout as fast as possible. But if we took a different approach, we were like, look, we want anybody that's rocking our clothes anybody, when you go up and walk up on them, and if you scan the back of those clothes, you can learn something about your past as a person of color that you never knew before, that may change your mindset, which may change your perspective, which may change your opportunities on what you can create. If all we have to do is inspire that by telling these stories of the past, I've never seen a brand like that.
No.
And I told somebody straight up, and look, 10 years from now, probably somebody's going to look at this and be like, bro, we had it right there. But I said, bro, like, just imagine Nike having a QR code on the back of their clothes. And I think the genius in it now, after I talked to Cousin Sean and I talked to other people that I'm doing it with, is the access that we're going to be able to give people. And I think what I'm trying to say is, if Nike not only inspired you with these great athlete stories, but they actually told you how to be a better athlete. Like, just think of this when we were coming up, right? Nike's got Usain Bolt, they've got the Terrell Davises, they've got the Michael Vicks, they got everybody. And think like you scan the back of somebody's clothes and Michael Vick is there and he's going to teach you how to run your 40-yard dash free of charge. Like, Steph Curry is going to teach you how to shoot free of charge. You got access to catalogs and catalogs and catalogs of how to be a superior athlete. And all they have to do is wear the brand. But when you scan the brand, you can either buy the clothes or you can learn how to become a better athlete, because that's what the clothes represent, the best of athletics.
Yeah.
That kind of knowledge, like, we paid for DVDs to learn how to run 40s. We had to go to the gym constantly, and I mean, worked out wrong for years. Years. I didn't learn how to truly work out and get abs and everything till I got with bodybuilders, because my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, decided she wanted to get into bodybuilding. There were all types of techniques that would have solved problems right away. So that's just a body thing. Nike's a body movement thing. Adidas is a body movement thing. Lululemon is a body movement thing. Who's got a lock on mindset? What brand is highlighting mindset?
Your higher end brands that more address upscale, because upscale, when you are in a suit or something that is premier fashion, their brand is about luxury, but that's where you see that at. Your brand is more about luxury as well as philosophy.
And I don't even know if, like, because when I think of luxury, I think of exclusivity. Like, when I think about, let's say, top two brands in North America right now are Nike and Louis Vuitton, right? Louis Vuitton sells the same cotton T-shirt as Nike, literally the same cotton T-shirt, but they sell it for $1,000, and Nike may sell that T-shirt for $60, right? And the thing becomes, the people that buy Louis Vuitton, they want you to know that they spent $1,000. And when you walk in the room and they got Louis on, you got Nike on, it says what kind of category, what kind of caliber they're in, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that that's a mindset, because I think what I just broke down with Nike, if I could scan Nike clothes and learn how to become a better athlete, because you have access to the top caliber swimmers, sprinters, football players, basketball players, baseball players, soccer players, you could teach me everything. That is a use case. Like, now I not only buy Nike clothes because of the appeal and how it feels on my body, but they actually taught me how to move in their clothes to maximize what I want out of the sport. I'm looking at this and I'm saying, if we teach people the history that they're not learning, the education system's not giving it to us as people of color.
True.
They're barely giving it to white Americans.
Yeah.
But they're getting it more than us. Native Americans definitely aren't getting it. Asian Americans aren't getting it. Latinos for damn sure ain't getting it. Like, for real, we don't know our past to even establish what kind of present we should be living in. We don't know who fought for us or anything, or what they died for or anything. We don't know those people. And we don't know the accomplishments that they had to even create a use case. So what I'm saying now is, when I'm looking at this and I'm saying, bro, if you could just walk up If Jay-Z was wearing it, he allowed you to walk. Just think, he allowed you to walk up on his back. I'm putting it on my back, bro. I'm putting the race on my back. And you could scan them and you could learn about Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Angela Davis, Rosa Parks, so many more that I'm not even mentioning. Those are the ones that you've heard of. There's so many more that you've never heard of that could inspire you in whatever field that you want to go in, but you just want to know how they move the culture forward. Mm-hmm. And if you could do that with anybody, everybody that wears our brand would become a walking billboard for knowing your history. You would have no reason not to know it, right? And so, and I didn't get a chance to tell Cousin Sean about this, so I'm about to blow everybody's mind here. My guy, I was talking to my website designer, and he was like, now look, I'm about to cry. This is how powerful this was, bro. He said, Che, because you have QR codes, you could use augmented reality. He said, imagine walking up on somebody, scanning it, and you could literally see the speech, or you could recreate a speech of like Malcolm X or Martin Luther King. And you could, like, people be scanning your clothes, but watching it, a real life experience on their phone, or a created experience since we're storytellers. Mm-hmm. He said clothes would no longer become like a passive thing. It would become an interactive thing. And the clothes that you wear with this particular brand speak to who you are as a character. Like, I'm building out 52 people to cover 52 weeks in a year, right? Mm-hmm. So 26 men, 26 women. And I mean, say, let's go controversial here. Say, man, I'm a thug. I'm a gangster, bro. Like, I got to keep it 1,000. That's just your personality. Imagine you come across a guy like Bumpy Johnson, known drug trafficker, known racketeer, also a well-known civil rights activist, somebody that contributes to mayor contributions, builds out the city of Harlem, attends these different meetings to build up the community, funds things that ensure that there are business opportunities for people of color in his city. So like these controversial figures that I don't just have to be this one thing, but just have access to what somebody did of that caliber. You don't have to do it exactly like them. You don't have to necessarily do racketeering or participate in drugs. But the simple fact that somebody took the impossible and made it possible and changed the direction of their time and advanced their city forward, that's information that allows you to change your perspective on what you think you can do. And once again, it goes mindset, perspective, opportunity for me. So when I'm looking at this brand and I'm saying to myself, well, this is the first time in my history, my existence, that the product's easy. Putting all this in, putting the QR code on the clothes, having it look nice and appeal, easy. Like, modern day technology has made that very simple. What we're doing with the content is everything, and content is where in the last decade I've built my bones at, right? Like that's my passion. That's what I love to do. So now I'm saying I'm already at the finish line because I got the product, right? I already have the product out. I already have a website out for it. You go buy the product right now.
What's the website?
Website is culturexbrand.com. So CLUTURXBRAND.com. And from there, since the website is built out, it's really just about the content that we're going to put with these stories. And the simple fact that we can treat the same way Nike treats Jordans, we can do that with legacies. Like, I know our people take shoes super personal, so you can't just be putting out rinky-dink shoes. But like, I've been rocking. I really, 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 after talking to a 12-year-old, my nephew Armani, I really wanted to create some shoes, just personally. And I was like, bro, why can't we have some Malcolm X's? You know what I mean? Like, I would wear some Malcolm X shoes. That's how much Malcolm means to me.
Is that what you got on your feet now?
That's what I got on my feet right now.
Go ahead, take a pair off. Show the camera, man.
So what? It was my own kind of design, but it was just making a two-tone shoe, and we were able to put the legacy date, so the tombstone date, across the shoe, and then the color on each color would just it'd be a representative style of what we feel the character and the morality of the person embodied. Like Malcolm X is like black marble to me, bro. He was all about black excellence, all about black self-reliance, self-efficiency. So that black rock, if you will.
Okay.
But being able to just wear a shoe and be like, man, today I need Malcolm to walk with me. you know what I'm saying? And I remember when I was talking to with a 12-year-old, I was like, ooh, we call it walk in history. You know what I'm saying? And then I was like,
I need some Jesus shoes.
yeah, hey, look, it's doable. It's doable. We're gonna
I
place
need
him-
Jesus walking with
we're
me
gonna
all the time.
We're going to place him in the people of color section.
Right? Yeah, because he was brown skinned
Absolutely.
with hair of wool. So.
Absolutely. And I remember telling them, man, we should put their names on the sole of the shoe. And I wanted to do it on the bottom, so we haven't gotten to the place where we could put the initials on the bottom, but the brand allows us to put the sole of the shoe, I could say what the name is. So I just called these the MX1s. So the first
Are they
edition of the
online too?
Malcolm X's. I didn't put these online, but man, like everybody that I walk past, I'm talking barbershop people coming up to me, and I'm thinking like, dude, these are bootleg, right? They're like, bro, my man walked up there, he's like, bro, you were always fresh when you come in here. And I was like, I'm not a fashion dude at all.
Yeah.
And I don't even look at this as a fashion, my cousin told me the best way to look at it, because this is pure 100% passion for me, because it's like everything that I've always wanted to be about embodied into one. I get to tell story. I get to use a product that is super fucking cool, and people get to learn something that's extraordinarily valuable about themselves, and when we do it. But when people are coming up to me and they're like, bro, these are fire, these are fresh, and all I'm doing is getting compliments on it, my mind just goes to the possibilities are endless with what we could do, seeing as this is just the beginning of where we're getting started. But it's more so to me about we're telling the stories of people that I almost think people have forgotten. And I think me and you were talking about it. Well, let me get back to what I was going to say about Cousin, and I'm going to circle back around to you. It's not a clothing brand. I don't think we're selling anything. This is not a clothing
Sounds
brand
like a
to
culture
me.
brand.
I think it's a movement. We're selling. We're not even selling a movement. We're creating a movement for people to have a different mindset on what they can do with their lives. So, like, if I'm highlighting the legacy date of Malcolm, my cousin told me, it was like my cousin Sean Mitchell, Sean X Michael, said, bro, you're inspiring people to live their legacies. Like,
Yes.
it is a live your legacy. So the brand is literally all about reminding you of what people did with their time on Earth, so that you get inspired to do the most with your time on Earth right now. That's it. If Nike can get away with, we inspire every athlete, I'm trying to inspire every person of color to remember where you come from, remember who sacrificed, and what are you going to do your part. That's it. Just your part. You just may be the local high school football coach. I don't care. You might be the president of the BSU. Don't care. What are you doing to do your part all the way to the end date?
Man, I also need you. I don't know if you know the history of this great man, Mr. Rucker. The dude who's responsible for the Rucker basketball court in New York.
No, I don't know the story. I know the court for sure.
He was a janitor, and he saw a lot of stuff going on. And so what he did was he cleaned up court and invited the kids to come play. He got a name, and from him, creating little basketball leagues for the kids to play in, and ended up getting some funding and all the rest of this other stuff, and it turned into something bigger than what he was. I think, do the research on him. He's a dynamite man, janitor, you see what I'm saying, and saw something better for his community. I mean, all these people that have been forgotten people need to be reminded of them, because any ordinary person can become extraordinary.
Absolutely.
But you have to understand who you are first, and I believe you have to understand your culture, you know. And thank you for this journey that you're taking and telling everybody about it and bringing culture to people that are where the culture is being lost. Because if we lose our culture, then we don't know who we are.
It's an identity problem. It's a critical identity problem. And I think the moment we begin to solve that by understanding where we come from and the people that have walked before us is the moment that we begin to alter what our present day looks like. And if we alter what our present day looks like, we're absolutely going to change what our future looks like. So I think we're solving a problem here by just creating a creative way to look at education. And when I look around the world today and kind of see what politicians are doing as far as trying to take Black history out of certain school districts or we'll call it states, if you will, or maybe how there's more white power protest uprising in response to Black Lives Matters or whatnot, kind of all this racial tension. Our goal is not to be a problem, but to solve a solution of understanding who we are will allow us to understand how to work with each other to solve problems that we're facing as a group. And I think once we get ourselves together as a people, you can absolutely help other people get themselves together, and we can create something that is sustainable and equal for everybody versus what we've experienced in just something as big as the racial wealth gap. Like, we can solve these problems self-sustainably, I believe, but we need leadership and products and people that are thinking in an innovative way to approach that problem. And I absolutely want to be a part of that solution and a part of telling those stories and having us remember who we are, where we come from, and what we can build.
Well, I most definitely think that's what you're doing. Are there any other platforms that people can reach you on or get a hold of you at?
You can reach me on my IG at Cheikh Davis, ELCHE Davis. That'd probably be the easiest. Or you could definitely reach out and check out culturexbrand.com. That's CulturXbrand.com. And you could just send us a message. You could definitely take a look around, shop and see the apparel. We'll have more coming out on there. But if you just want to send a message to us and let us know the type of people that you want on there, like you were saying, Mr. Ruckus, we can absolutely create that apparel over time using different things like artificial intelligence. We can make exclusive designs with people that have done phenomenal things in specific places, that if people say, man, I really wish you guys had this person up there, let us know. We get them up there. I'll make sure that we add that story to what we'll be doing on the filming side. And now it's a community building out the things that they want to know more about, or people that they think that the community needs to know about. And we're responding and making sure that we get that story told effectively with it's going to be some really dynamic motivational speeches that we're going to bring to the table.
Dope. Well, thank you guys for staying tuned to Grown Man Shit today. I had a blast chopping it up with you, man. And we're going to have you back on, so we can talk more about what it is that you've done. Last thing that I would like to say is please put out those movies, man.
We'll do.
Please put out those movies. But we appreciate you guys. We love you. And keep staying tuned to us. Peace.